All right, here we are at the end of our Toy Biz Fantastic Four series. We did all the waves of the figures, and now we are on to the vehicles and the giant figure, which is Galactus here. These are all brand new in box, sealed, so we're going to be opening them up and checking them out for the first time. Of course, we'll bring the characters over here to check out the vehicles like Thing Sky Cycle, Mr. Fantastic Sky Shuttle. And just to put them in scale with Galactus here, and then with the amazing Fantastic Four. Very excited about this one, to open this up. We'll pop some batteries in there as well to see, hopefully it works. I mean, it was never used, it's still sealed. The only one I had to open up to make sure it still works was Galactus, because it was open, and I bought it new in box at a show, but it was obviously not new when it had battery corrosion in there. So we got this guy working as well. So very impressive figure, Galactus here. I love the sound effect. We'll check that out in just a minute. Don't know what to expect from these smaller ones. They're kind of weird little vehicles that never made it into the show, but this guy did and this thing did. And they have not been a whole lot of Fantastic Cars since this one. I think Toy Biz did another one when they did the, I believe they were doing the Fantastic Four line when the movie came out. But I don't think there's been one since. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think there's one in the Marvel Legends line. There will be maybe after the next movie. We'll see if there is a Fantastic car in it. But this is one of the coolest Fantastic cars out there. One of the only Fantastic cars out there. Definitely very cool. Very mimics the show, and it has a lot of configurations, which we'll check out as well. Because if you watch the show, you'll see how it's split, and they would reorganize it to capture some of the pods. So we'll be checking that out in depth. So why don't we come on in and start opening these boxes. Okay, so first on to Galactus. Love the box, love the artwork here of him fighting the Fantastic Four. Love more of that artwork on the side, and all the features are here on the back. Nice little box, still's got that shiny foil on it right there, and then we have the character himself. All he comes is with this world drill, as they call it, and you can see, looks exactly like he does in the cartoon. Little articulation in the head there. The arms, you have elbow articulation, arm articulation. I want to give you a little scale to this Sentinel from, I think it was 93, maybe 92. Galactus was 94. He's a little taller. He has articulation, and he has electronics. So a little bit different here, but if you want to see him in scale to the other Fantastic Four figures, there you go. He is taller, but he's not as tall as he needs to be. I believe on the show, like, the Thing was the size of his head or something like that, or half the size of his head. And obviously that is not the case with the Thing here. So he would need to be a lot bigger. And at the time, that is not the case. So his whole functionality here is this, with this world drill, there's light bulbs in here that are going to come down. They don't go all the way to the bottom. They're in his eyes as well. So what you can do is plug it in here, and then you would lift his arm up to essentially hold this drill on both sides. And I'll get this going here. So it looks like he's drilling. And then when you turn it on, it should trigger here. It takes a second sometimes. There we go. So you could see him with the drill. The light is on. I could turn it a little bit. There we go, to correct it. But it has this great, like, 1960s sound effect. I love that. It sounds like a sci-fi movie. But you see the eyes flashing. The light is emanating here. It doesn't go all the way down. There's no bulb down here, and I checked. So it does look like it in the package like it does, and they have it lit up a little bit in the middle, but this is as far as it extends. It doesn't go that much further down. So the way it works, basically, is his right arm is a pressure switch. So when we had to open him up to see why he wasn't functioning, you can see right here, he's a mess of wires on the inside. But there's a little plastic part up in the corner, and once it pushes the metal plate, it makes contact between the battery and the mechanism, and it provides power to allow it to go off like this. So that's essentially how it works. So you can do it without the drill. All you have to do is lift his arm up high enough, and it will trigger the sound effect. There you go. So you could have him fighting like this with his zappy eyes, but the arm, once it hits a certain angle, pushes the mechanism into place, and it goes off. And that's basically how it works on the inside there. So ours was not working when we initially got it, because it was massively corroded in here because someone had left batteries in it for over a decade or more. And then the guy tried to sell it to me as new. It obviously wasn't. Careful, people could just put things back in packages and put the cable ties back on them and sell it as new. That is not the case. So we found a lot of corrosion. We found some internal wires were cut off because of the battery corrosion, and that's how we discovered what was wrong with it and how the mechanism functioned. But it still works great. The bulb that's in there, everything still works great. It just doesn't extend all the way down. You can't see a light bulb, so I don't know why you would think it would. So it's a little deceptive on the artwork that there's a light bulb down here, because there's not. There's one here, and it goes a little bit of the way down, but that's about as far as it'll go in a dark room. So that is essentially Galactus. Pretty cool. Love the sound effect. I love how his head could still turn despite the fact that he has lights and electronics going on in there. A lot of figures didn't do that from Toy Biz at the time, so it's kind of novel. And he has that articulation in there. So great addition to your collection to go with all the heralds or assistant heralds or whatever the titles are. And that is our last figure that we're looking at, if you want to call him that, a colossal figure. And now we're going to go start looking at the vehicles. Okay, on to Mr. Fantastic's Sky Shuttle. As you can see here on the box, his little cart. I don't remember this from the show at all. I don't think it was on the show. There were some other shuttles on there that weren't necessarily the Fantastic Car. It could have been parts of the Fantastic Car. At one point it was destroyed. So possibly this is based on that, but this is just a little different than what you'll see on the show. Still pretty cool. We're going to check it out right now. So here we go. We have the Sky Shuttle. You can see the little instrument panel in there. I just put all the decals on to save some time. So this is brand new, right out of the box. Beautiful coloring on it, like the day it was made, essentially. And you can see all that great detail on this little guy. And we're going to put Mr. Fantastic in here to see what he would look like in his Sky Shuttle. Bear in mind that Mr. Fantastic's arms don't really adjust to grab onto anything. So he could sit here. We have this one feature in the back. It's called an extending gun. And it will come up and position around like this. I'm not sure if this is radar or something. Now these are just in here for storage, essentially. So they're not actually functional fire out of there. What you can do is here on the front, you lift this and it reveals this little mechanism here where you could load these missiles in, and then you could fire them. Now you can't have the missile in there and close it, as you can see. So you'd have to store them in the back here, but then you can fire it and then you can close it again. And that is the storage back here for these missiles. Now that's not the only function of this cool little vehicle. As you'll see here, it says weapon storage on the side, and it means that these pull out and you can see 2 more missiles in there. Now these are very cool because they're spring-loaded internal mechanisms. So basically you load them in the trench here like that, you pull it back, and you're able to launch them right out at whatever you want to target. So you could even have 2 going at once if you wanted to, by putting one on each side and then pulling them both back. You could probably lift the vehicle while you did that, pull them both back and let them go, and you'd be able to fire both of these out at the same time, which is pretty cool. So a pretty interestingly designed toy, I gotta say, with a lot of firing functional features to it. And then you have those weapon storage. Not the best figure to go with this because, like I said, you can't really position his hands. But you can store those back into there, and it folds back into this neat little cycle. And then, like I said, if you want that front feature, you just pop the top, use one of these missiles in there, and you can fire out of the front too. So a lot of firepower out of this little tiny vehicle with Reed Richards in it in tow. And it's a fun little addition to your set. But this is like your mini rig sort of for the series, and they needed a little bit more because there was only really one vehicle. So not a bad little vehicle. All right, let's check out that thing Sky Cycle now. All right, well, if the Sky Shuttle was barely in the show, the Sky Cycle is not at all. This is complete work of fantasy here on behalf of Toy Biz, adding something into the line that didn't exist in the show at all. So just giving things something more to do, we have the Sky Cycle. So as you can see here, we'll put Mr. Grimm on the Sky Cycle to see what he could do. He has a little more articulation than Reed Richards, so you're able to put him in here a little bit more distinctly. He could grab onto these little bars that are across the way and look like he's actually riding it through the sky. So fun feature is it had this capture function where if he stepped down on the pads here, it would slide in. Now I'm pushing down on it. It had a lot more force than that. Let me see if I can reset it. If I'm lifting it up and I push these down, you can see him use the Sky Cycle here to be able to capture the bad guy in the front. Now these claws also closed, so they could go into a sort of a driving mode or a claw mode on the cycle here. I keep wanting to say shuttle. But that was basically the main function of it, as you can see here. Very purple. I'm not sure what they want with purple on this one. Kind of a Galactus feel. So the other function of it, and I'll have to take him off to do this so it doesn't do it too well, is it has this launcher in the back, but you can see it would launch into him. So I guess if you angle it up, it could fire. But let me take him off so we can do it a little bit more succinctly here. You have these 2 missiles that came with it, 1, 2, and basically you would push them in here all the way back. I mean, all the way back. You have to really jam it in there to get it to work. And once you got it in, well, this one's not fitting very well. They didn't want to function very well. Okay, so once you got it in, you would pull it until you got it into position, and then you let it go. Whoops. Let me try the other one. It was a lot more finicky than the Reed Richards one. So once you got it in, you let it go, and it's not working for me now, but it just was a second ago. It would kind of take off and fly across the room, but now it's sort of freezing. Oh, there it goes. Now it's sort of freezing up, but it's a very tricky little spring in there. But that's what it did basically, is you had that launcher that would pop out and launch those missiles with great force, probably up on an angle if you have Ben Grimm riding on there, because you don't want to hit him with it. So if he was riding on this guy's cycle here, you would have to fire it up and out, sort of like a flare or something like that. But that was all to this little vehicle. Not sure what this retailed for originally, but interesting little mechanism on it, but not much else going on. But you can actually drive it with him, so that was kind of neat. So now let's get on to the Fantastic Car. Okay, the Fantastic Car is huge. I have to really zoom out for you guys to see just how big this is. Bigger than Galactus. Just massive, and it's 4 cars fused together, and they all separate, and there's different combinations here, and they each have their own function, and we're going to come in a little closer and take you through each one. I just wanted to show you the assembled Fantastic Car right now. It's got some sound effects on it that should work. There we go. So your standard annoying sound effects, nothing specific to the show. They all separate. There's different combinations. So if I wanted to start taking these apart, I'll do that in just a second. These levers are very tricky, and you have to kind of pull it apart, but you can start pulling these apart, and you can make different combinations using different components of the Fantastic Car, and I'll do that in just a second. Or you can put it all together and lift it up and go as one giant piece. So it's a little weighty when you start to do that, but they all separate, and they could function independently, and they each have their own unique features, and we'll be showing that in just a moment. And there's some combinations, like when Johnny would fly off, they would have to then combine it to to Sue's cart or something like that, so she could drive that along with her, because it wouldn't drive on its own. And so they all separate, they all fly differently, or they could fly in any combination. So there's several different combinations that I'll take you through, but we'll focus on each of the cars, and I'll show you how they're kind of attuned to each individual member of the Fantastic Four, and sort of operate that way. But this is the giant assembled Fantastic Car, and now we're going to come in and check out all the features. I'm going to call this Ben's car, essentially, in the front, and what it comes with is some missile launchers. So you can see it fires off these 2 missiles. Now, while Toy Biz did include this very nice, what they call launcher on the side that you could touch instead of that button, they included 2 of the same one in the package. And this isn't, someone made a mistake here. This is right from the factory, brand new in box. So I had to put it on upside down here, but it should be facing the top side. I'll see if there's any other versions out there, but this seems to be a manufacturer error where they put 2 of them with the mounting bracket on the right side on both instances instead of on the left. So you cannot correctly mount this one. So kind of weird. So you have these little adjustable fins in the back. You can see this is where the sound module clips in, and then you have your figure here. Now, to get him out, it's a little bit of a work, because you have to take this plate off and then lift this up. Now, what's interesting in here is any other figure can sit in here on this bench and reach perfectly the height to put this down. But if you leave that bench out when you put the thing in, you won't be able to put this piece on top. So what you have to do is slide the bench in, and then the thing fits in, and then you could eventually put the put all the rest of the pieces on. It took me a second or two to figure that out. I was like, why doesn't this piece sit flush on there like it does in the box? That's exactly why. So this is really the only shuttle that you can fit Ben in. He's not going to fit into the other ones. The other two are too narrow, and the Reed Richards one is just not high enough for him to hit without hitting the top part there. So that is kind of him. I'll take you over here to whatever I can get next, and that's going to be Johnny's. So you have these little guns on here, and I have it on the side because you can't put it on here when you're mounting it, but it kind of goes best here. Now you could put them on here, but the problem is you won't be able to open the front, and I'll show you in just a moment. So you have these other two guns that you can mount on either side of the wing, and then these rotating guns that are mounted right here. And then of course you have the additional feature. So what happens here is the front opens, and this is called a depth charge. So if you push it forward, it's going to fling and I'm going to lose it, but it will launch that little thing right out of there, and that is your additional firing function hiding underneath. You can only really do that if you don't have the cannons in the way when you do that, and otherwise they prevent the doors from opening. And you can see the wheels underneath to allow it to land. And it's weird because it has the sticker here is a split sticker that comes with it. And there's two of these split sticker options, and it's for both Johnny and Sue's car, and they fit on the doors here. I think the Johnny from the first series works best, the glow-in-the-dark version, but defer to you how you want to do that. Now, I said there's all different ways to combine this. So you see you can move the gun here over to the side, and then you could put this on the wing here, and then you'd be able to connect it to Sue's car. So you could connect the box between the two of them, and that was one of the permutations on the show. We'll check that out in just a moment. Next up, I got Sue and Reed here. Let's see who separates. All right, we got Sue. So Sue, again, I have the gun on the side because the car was on the side there, and then we will attach that. Now, you could use either one of these as either Sue or Johnny's car. It doesn't have to be this way. Like she could either one with the depth charge. So they're both the same, essentially. So any common, the only difference here is when we get on the inside and then we open it up. So when we do the feature to open it this time, this one has a missile launcher. So instead of the depth charge, you get a missile launcher. This one basically you pull in here. I guess you go either way. This might be easier because you could pull it with your finger and then you would launch it out. So that is the feature for Sue here. She has her little hidden missile launcher that's in there. And then again, the combination here with Johnny. So if I wanted to, I could put this in the middle. I could put this on each side. And then now I have my two cars here that I can use in this combination. I could also connect one. Let's see, the other combination is I could connect both of these to Reed's car without Thing's car, which you just saw that. So that's not much of a combination. I could connect just Reed and Thing's car. I could connect this to just the back of Reed's car. And this would be another combination here. You can see the connection on the back here to allow me to do that. So all sorts of permutations. If I wanted to do this, then I would just basically be having the sound effects for Reed's car. And that would allow me to... I'll turn that off for a second. And that would allow me to have sound effects just on Reed's car, and then I could separate that out. So a lot of different combinations you get with that. And then we end with Reed's car here, which is the command module. So we have him in the back so we could oversee everything. This one, again, is easier. It's not as tough to slap in as the Thing. And you could just fit the figure in there. Any of the characters could go in there, I think, except for the Thing, because I don't know how his shoulders would do with this. I think they would hit it, and it just wouldn't sit down right. So this one has a firing, pivoting cannon at the top. I'll just show you that there for these missiles. And that is the only function of the command module here. And like I said, if you wanted to, you could then attach Sue on the side here, and then you could attach Johnny on this side, and you could just have it function this way, and Thing could be on his own. I think there is a way to put the vehicle on the back of Things, or maybe not. Maybe Thing just goes alone. Thing and Reed could attach actually without needing that module. So basically all you do is you turn these out and then slide this in here, and then boom, there you go. We have another attachment right there. Oh, they just turn up this way, my bad. They just turn up this way. And then look, you could have a condensed Fantastic car. I'm not sure if you can see this more zoomed in we are, but the one on the cartoon had this module in the middle to make it a little bit longer, and then allow the other cars to connect to each other. But all sorts of options with this guy. Very awesome piece. Absolutely love it. I just wish they didn't mess up on this side cannon here, which I'll go look online and see if there, maybe I just got a bad one, but it's kind of funny that it didn't come with the right piece. But that is the Fantastic Car. All right, I think this one ran a little bit long, but you know what? This was our last segment for the Fantastic Four Toy Biz line. There was a lot to look at in these little vehicles. I mean, you had this awesome Galactus figure, you had this surprisingly cool Sky Shuttle here, and then the interesting Sky Cycle, and then that amazing Fantastic Car that was almost flawless, save for that one minor manufacturing flaw that we'll try to see if there's a different version of it online. But you could see a lot of cool permutations here for that ship. Looked exactly like it did on the show. It literally only had the stickers for the fours. That was it. Everything else was already together there, and just a lot of additional little fun functional features. And then again, awesome Galactus here to round out your set. So that is it. We showed you everything that Toy Biz Fantastic Four line had. All 4 of the figure waves. We showed you all of the vehicles. It's just these 3 vehicles and then this one large figure. That is it. You've seen absolutely everything from the entire collection of the Toy Biz Fantastic Four line. So we finished our series. What's up next? It's going to be the Marvel Superheroes line from 1990 to, I believe, 1994 that line ran. That was the beginning of Marvel, the first successful Marvel action figure line that eventually turned into Legends and continues today under Hasbro stewardship. So you're going to see all the origins of all these great figures, a lot of first appearances, a lot of really cool features. We have absolutely everything from that collection. Play sets, vehicles, accessory sets, which is the role-playing stuff, the electronic figures, every single figure, all the waves. We're going to show you guys everything. Some surprises along the way of stuff you probably didn't even know existed. We dug it all out, we researched it all up, and it's all going to be openers. They're going to be brand new in package, so we're going to see them as they were at their, I guess at their prime, essentially. So we'll be checking that out very soon. We'll have a teaser for, in the next week or 2 coming up for that, where we'll have everything laid out for you guys to check out, like we did with Fantastic Four line on our social channel, on Instagram and etc. So that is all for this time. Hoping you enjoyed this series. We have more great vintage series coming to you, and we have more new products on the horizon as well. So like, subscribe, and follow, and we'll see you guys next time.